Hi. Um, so I'm back. I took a little break uh, for a day uh, because I didn't want to do this anymore. Um, what I've been sort of asking myself is what if I make a mistake? And what do I do if I make a mistake or if I feel as though I've made a mistake? Or how do I feel about making mistakes? And how do I self love or treat myself well through what I feel is a mistake? Um, and I looked up mistake, and it is an action or judgment that is misguided or wrong. So says Google. And and I am I'm just sitting in, like yesterday, I did not want to make a video because I was pissed. And I was mad at myself. And I was mad at myself for some choices that I made. Um, so, what do I do with that? What do I do when I feel that I have messed up? When I have made an action or placed a judgment that is misguided or wrong? Um, Great question, Internet. I don't know the answer is the answer because I was not nice. I was not nice to myself, and that I did not want to admit that to the Internet. And yeah, um, and I think of myself as a good person, and I think of myself as like a giving, compassionate person. But when it comes to myself, I am not as giving or compassionate. I'm noticing. If somebody else makes a mistake, for the most part, like I kind of brush it off and I don't let it bother me. For the most part, there are some times that is not true, but I definitely am harder on myself, and that seems like everybody's harder on themselves. We're our worst critics, and blah blah blah. Um, but so what? What do we do with that? What do we do differently? And and I'm really trying to catch myself in the moment of blaming and judging and being mean to myself, but also not heading into a place of shifting behavior. So, like, if I make that mistake, let's say it's a habit that I have, um, and I want to shift that habit, what do I do then? And how do I change the habit? Um, let's say sugar, for instance. I it's like day 6 or something of the no sugar, and yesterday when I made my mistake, I decided that I wanted to eat carbs, and luckily we had some leftover Thai food, and I just like I it was like and it was late at night, and so I just decided that that was what I was going to have. So not only did I make this mistake, was I pissed at myself, but then I decided to further sort of self-harm my body um, as a way to comfort myself. Like, here you go, body, have this terrible food that I think it's definitely not going to make you feel better, but like in the moment of eating it, you're going to feel better. But it's the short term stuff. And like, I know there are people who've dealt with like food addictions and that kind of a thing. And it just, I feel like that's what habits are sometimes. Like, depending on the habit, depending on what it is, it's like an addiction. And whatever it is, for whatever reason, like there's some benefit to doing it because you wouldn't do it otherwise. Like, there was some upside, right? Like, by the way, this is henna. Whoop. Done by one of my amazing teens, Claudia. Um, And so if you see me gesturing and there's like blood red on my hand, I have not hurt myself. I'm just walking art, everybody. But like what um how do you stop the habit if you know it doesn't serve you? Um how do you shift it? Because like I in the moment of doing it, I like it and I want to keep doing it. Even though I know at some point I'm not going to feel good about it. And like after the moment is over, then I'm like, yeah, that was not a good idea. I knew that wasn't going to be a good idea. But in the moment, it seems like a great idea. Um, so how do we get ahead of that moment? Um, how do we how do we how do I get ahead of that moment and make a new choice? Um, how do I support myself ahead of time so that I know if I'm going to be in a situation where I might be tempted, um, that I make a different choice instead? So, uh, all good questions. If you have ideas about shifting habits, um, feel free to let me know what your ideas are. I really like when people leave ideas saying, like, what's worked for me is, rather than, here's what you should do, Rickley. Um, but yeah, I would love to hear feedback from people about how to shift habits ahead of time, especially when you really want to do that in the moment and you're like, what's the big deal? And then afterwards you're like, why did I do that? Anyway, we're back, everybody. We're back. We're loving. We're yeah. um I am paying attention, that's for sure. Of course, on a self-love journey that's 30 days long, there's going to be some bumps in the road where where I make some interesting choices. And yeah, how do I feel about mistakes? And how do I shift so that I don't continue making a mistake or create that habit? Um, there's supposed to be an amazing new moon this weekend, and so there's supposed to be all this shifting happening in the world, and I'm excited because new habits and new developments and expansion is happening. Yay, expansion! Um, be gentle, everybody, with yourselves. And yeah, it's time to go back inward, is what I'm realizing. Time to go back inward, right in my eyeball, apparently. I love you all. Thank you for witnessing and helping to hold me accountable to this journey. My friend Tam called me and she's like, "Where's the video?" And I, ah, just can't let stuff get by, can you? So thank you, everybody. I love you, and we'll see what happens. Okay, see you next time.